Afternoon, folks. Hope all is going well. Hope you like the old style background we're going with today, as it will help with the size of the video. I'm not sure how long this is going to be, but it may be a little bit long. We don't know. We're going to get into it because today we're going to be talking about what Warhammer 40,000 army you should be collecting depending on what kind of player or person you're going to be. Now, I will freely state that I am not a rules guru, especially not with 10th edition. So if you are here to know which models or which factions are best, which gameplay style, I will hint at that. I will maybe poke a toe into those waters, but I am not best at swimming in them. There are other channels out there that do a far better job of that than I do. So stick with me, because we're going to be talking about this from a feelings perspective, from a lore perspective, and what kind of a person you may be away from the tabletop, what kind of a person you may be in getting into the Warhammer 40,000 hobby, and what you should be doing whilst you're here, depending on which one of these three people you are, because yes, I do have categories here. There are three, and I think people in the hobby generally tend to fit into one of these three categories, one of these three player types, right? You may be, 50% of one and 50% of the other, 70%, 30%, that kind of a thing. This isn't binary, right? This isn't just you are all one or all the other. You may be, actually, depending on who you are. But most of you will not fit one of these verbatim. Most of you will have one foot in one and 1 foot in the other to a certain degree or another. And I think I need to talk about these before we get into the meat of the video. So the first archetype of hobbyist in 40k, or prospective hobbyist in 40k, are the tournament bros. Self-explanatory, really. These are players who are into the tournament scene and get a lot out of playing the rules. They want to create razor-sharp lists with zero fat on them that stick close to the meta of the game that is currently running. Often, they will overlook the enjoyment of the game for the thrill of a win, for both players, which is a good and a bad thing, right? That's the first archetype we're looking at today. Number 2, the storytellers. These are lore beards who have read copious amounts of books and are well versed in the stories of Warhammer 40,000. They will play the game with fun in mind. Often they will react negatively to win-at-all-cost mentalities. They want to tell stories with their models on the tabletop. The rules are a framework for this and their games. They're more guidelines than actual rules. The story and experience comes first. And the last archetype, and this is the largest one I think, is this one, the chasers. These are players who take the rule of cool to the extreme. They tend to follow trends and are accused by their friends of being meta chasers, where in reality if they find something cool, they will buy it instantly and play with it. A lot of chasers were burned by the original Leagues of Votann Codex, for example. So the original Leagues of Votann Codex was horribly broken on release. It was completely overpowered, and a lot of people who just thought Leagues of Votann were really cool were burned by it, because they bought it because they thought it was cool, and of course it turned out that it was absolutely broken and nobody wanted to play with them, which sucks, but it is what it is. So you will fall into one of these three archetypes, and what we're going to do, we're going to go through each 40k army, and I mean each of them, and we're going to assign them to one of these three archetypes and the type of players who will want to be playing them, right? So I'm going to go back to the best source for this, which is Games Workshop themselves. And we're going to start with the Xenos factions because, I think they deserve a little bit of love right now. So, let's start with the Eldari. Alright, so the Eldari, to me, have always been a glass cannon in 40k terms. When I first got into the hobby way back in the day, in 4th, 5th edition, I started with Eldar. I thought they looked absolutely cool. I loved the elegance of the models, and they were just my kind of thing. So I started with them, and I resoundingly lost every single battle I was ever a part of because my friends had Space Marine armies, which were very hard-hitting and very easy to use. I eventually got really good at playing Eldar, and I was quite good at the game, to the point where a Games Workshop staffer shook my hand one day and told me that I could take my list to a tournament and actually do quite well, which was a huge shot in the arm to me as a kid, let me tell you. Because again, when you're a kid, Games Workshop staffers are your heroes, aren't they, when you're going in and you're part of the hobby. So you know, they have a very special place in my heart, and I'm going to start another Eldar army pretty soon too. But going away from this, what kind of a player plays Eldar? Now, I don't think this is one of those armies where I don't think chasers really apply. I mean, I do think that if you find something really cool, you may play Eldar, right? In fact, no. Do you know what? I'm going to drop storytellers from this. It's tournament bros or chasers, and I'm going to tell you why, right? Storytellers are well into their lore, but Eldar haven't had any new lore for decades now, and I'm not including Yvrain or any of that nonsense, right? That wasn't really about Eldar, and the Incarnate and Yenade and all those things never really came to anything anyway. So let's be honest, the Eldar haven't had any actual new lore in decades. So if you're into this hobby for the lore, quite literally, the Eldar have their base lore, and that's it. Now, if you find that cool, I salute you, sir. It is cool, and well done to you. But I think, in terms of who collects Eldar, you were in the minority. I think the main people who collect Eldar are either tournament bros or chasers, and that is because Eldar have been extremely powerful at different points through Warhammer 40,000's life cycle. I don't just mean this one, I mean every one, right? There have been certain editions where Eldar have been positively broken, especially if you know how to play them. So they are a big tournament bros heavy faction. But I think the main people who collect this army are, indeed, the chasers, which goes against what I said at the start because I changed my mind as soon as I thought about it. The chasers literally pick up models because they're cool, not because of they play well together, not because they synergy well, not because they're good on the tabletop. They pick them up because they think they're awesome. And there's one thing that I can say for the Eldar's model range, is that they are actually extremely awesome. So I would say this is a chaser army more than anything else. I would say this is a 70% chaser army, 30% tournament bros army, and 0% a storyteller army, right? That's not because Eldar don't have good lore. They have decent lore. They just don't have any new lore, and that's one of the reasons why they're out of it on this one. All right. So next, who are we looking at? The Drukhari. Their cousins in the Drukhari over there. All right. Ooh, this is a more difficult one. So I'm going to discount tournament bros here. Mainly because Dark Eldar are very fast. That is it. Dark Eldar are very, very, very fast. Ungodly fast. But that is pretty much it. They have poisoned weapons and they're annoying to play against at times. But if you're going to start and try to win tournaments, in most 40k editions, Dark Eldar have not been the players and the games who have been doing that, right? Maybe in the current edition they're the best faction going. I don't know. I don't really play 10th edition. But I can tell you in previous editions, Dark Eldar were nowhere near the top echelon of tournament wins and power levels. So, you know, I'm going to discount tournament bros. I don't think tournament bros get a lot of fun or change out of Dark Eldar. The storytellers. Now, this is an interesting one. So the storytellers, Dark Eldar actually weirdly have more lore than Eldar. They turn up in a lot of novels. They turn up in a lot of video games. They're even in the Rogue Trader video game as main antagonist, which is really, really cool. So I actually think that there are quite a few storytellers within the Dark Eldar space. And if you are one of those storytellers, if you're one of those people who's getting into the hobby for the story and you want a Xenos faction that's elf-like, Dark Eldar are a very good place to go if you can stomach how absolutely batshit evil they are. But the Chasers, again, I think the Chasers are going to get another score here, because I honestly know quite a lot of people who get into Dark Eldar for the feels. Not for any part of the lore, but just because how cool they look and how metal they look. I've described Dark Eldar players before as really gangly, heavy metal listeners. You've seen them in local rock clubs, right? They always go around, they're harmless, lovely guys, right? Always trying to make other people feel good, because most of the time they're depressed. And they always wear, like, black fingernail paint. They're just odd little blokes, right? And they tend to be into the feeling of an army more than if it's going to be good on the tabletop, or whether it's going to have really good lore. So once again, I'm chalking this one up to Chasers. The Chasers, the people who like Rule of Cool, will like Dark Eldar, in my opinion. Alright, moving on. Maybe for Leather's feet as well, I don't know. You'll have to answer on a postcard. Right, Gene Stealer cults. Now, this is an interesting one. Okay, so discounting storytellers. Discounting that, Genestealer cults have one big piece of lore, is that they are there to be eaten by the Tyranids. They represent the decay of a civilization, which in itself is a pretty cool moxie for your faction to be behind. But I'm going to discount storytellers because it's not really a faction with in-depth lore. But I do think through this video, we're going to start to really see the, shall we say, the gaps in the lore, where they are, right? With how many of these factions do not get the storytellers vibe, you know? I'm thinking of discounting chasers, but I'm not going to, because I honestly think that as an army they can be pretty cool, right? But do you know where I see most people playing these guys? And it's really weird, because they're not that good in the rules, at least they haven't been for quite a while. That's tournaments. I keep seeing them at all of my local tournaments. Now this might be just me. It might be just me, it might not be you. You may have a completely different thing. But for me, I keep seeing Genestealer cults at tournaments and doing quite well. Especially if they're converted to be things like guard regiments, traitor guard, things like that, right? So I would actually say there's 50% chasers here, because these are people who are still doing the rule of cool. They're looking at it, thinking it's kind of like Mad Max, thinking that's really cool. But they're also quite decent at tournaments. They've got quite decent rules, as far as I'm aware, because I keep seeing them do well at tournaments near me. A lot of you will say, what tournaments are you going to? Well, I don't know, man. Like I keep seeing the ones in the northwest of England, and these guys are doing quite well. So, you know, go ham, I guess. But that's the Genestealer cults. 50-50 tournament and chasers. A lot of chasers so far. Alright, Leagues of Atan. Alright, the quintessential chaser army. Let's get these out the way quickly. We will stop getting chasers later on. I think a lot of the Xenos stuff will be chasers, but we'll see. But this is the quintessential 100% chaser army. I'm going to say, if this was a 9th edition, Tournament Bros would be a good 80% of the player base who selected this army, right? Because it was just so good. But nowadays, I'm going to say most of the people who get Leagues of Atan are chasers. Why? Because they've got no lore, and they're not that good at tournaments either. So the only reason you're going to be into Leagues of Atan is because of the look of the models and the feel that you get from playing the models. And I think that's a really good way to get into the hobby. So if you're into Dwarves in Space, if you're into a Deep Rock Galactic, then this is the kind of thing you really want to be getting your teeth into. Really, really cool army, and yeah, not much more to say about that. They are a chaser army of that archetype. Moving on to Necrons now. We are into an interesting one. This is the first oldie faction that we've had since Eldar and Dark Eldar. So, for a little while now, we've had new factions, now we're into an oldie. And Necrons, quite literally, are very old, and that's why I'm discounting chasers from this group for the first time. I think chasers are a percentage of people who collect Necrons. You can't look at the Tesseract Vault or the Catan without seeing, oh my god, that's cool, that's just so cool, I want to collect that, right? That I get. But I think they are a small percentage of the people who are into Necrons. In fact, I think most of the people who are into Necrons, in my opinion, are storytellers, first and foremost. These are people who absolutely love the lore of 40k. They love the fact that Necrons go all the way back to the start of 40k. They're there from the very beginning, and their lore has been divulged and broken apart and remade many times. And I think a lot of people who are into Necrons like them for their lore. They like them for their aesthetic. They like them for what they do. And they like to play games that are very fluffy in that the Necrons are here and they're going to push your shit in. I think that's a really cool thing. Tournament Bros, again, a smaller percentage, definitely. Necrons are, or have been, relatively powerful in the game for the but since they came around in the late 90s, early noughties. So yeah, but mainly a storyteller army. So if you're into your lore, if you're into your background lore, and you want space terminators who look like Egyptians and act like Egyptians, evil Egyptians, then this is the place to go. You are really going to get a lot out of your Necrons. Alright. I guess you're seeing now how this is going to work, right? If you can fit yourself into one of those three categories, which I know you all can, maybe if you haven't done it yet, go back to the start of the video. Because I like watch time. But no, seriously. Go back to the start of the video, okay? not read, but listen to my 3 categories there. Take a bit of paper and place yourself as percentage what you think you are. Are you a tournament bro, a storyteller, and a chaser? And if so, at what percentage are you of each? Do that. It'll make it more fun as we go along to our next and one of my favourite factions in 40k. Now, we are on a 100%. So we had a 100% chaser army in the Leagues of Batan. We are having now a 100% lore army. This is a storyteller army. Storytellers, again, remember, they don't just like the lore, they like to play the game with fun in mind. Often they will react negatively to win at all costs mentalities. They want to tell stories with their models on the tabletop, and the rules are more of a framework for this and more guidelines. That doesn't mean the person cheats, that just means they treat the game as secondary to having fun. And every single orc player I've ever known has fallen into this category. They're there to kick shit in the teeth and get blown up. That's what they're there to do. And they have a lot of fun doing it. If you want to get into a no frills, no pressure game of 40k, collect orcs. You will have the time of your life. They are amazing. And everybody loves them. If you want to be the most popular guy, until people get to know you and I know that you're an arsehole, if you want to be the most popular guy at any sort of meeting of hobbyists, collect orcs. Everyone will love you, at least for the first 10 minutes. Everyone will be like, hey, this guy's cool, he collects orcs, right? I mean, you've already got a leg up on everybody else, because everyone loves you and everyone loves playing you. So, that doesn't mean they're not powerful. They can be very powerful orcs, especially if they can get the charge off into close combat. Absolutely menacing on the tabletop, but by and large, most of the people who collect them are here for the lore and are here for the jollies of it rather than anything else. So, Tau Empire are next, and this is an interesting one because I think the tournament bros are finally getting their first army. Not because they're really good right now, but historically, Tau have been extremely good in the hobby. 7th edition was Tau's edition, in my opinion. The Tau were godlike in that edition, with their gunline antics going on, Overwatch here, Overwatch there. 7th edition was a time when Overwatch would very rarely come off because you were hitting on 6s. And an army that didn't hit on 6s in Overwatch or got rerolls of things could really break the game. So tournament bros were a big part, and still are, I think. There's a bit of a hangover with Tau. Tournament bros are a big part of the Tau player base, and I still think that's the case today. I'm going to give the Tau a 70% tournament bros player base, and then I'm going to give the rest to the chasers, because the Tau are cool, but don't have a lot of lore. They have some lore, but not a lot of it. And in terms of people playing just for the fun of the game, if you're playing just for the fun of the game, you very rarely play a passive army that is good at one thing, and that's shooting, right? If you're there for the love of the game, normally you want to interact with all of the game's modes. That would be close combat, psychic powers, shooting, movement, right? You want to engage with all of those things. If you are Tau, you're only really engaging with some moving and mostly shooting, which, okay, it's fine, but you're not really here for the joy of the game, in my opinion. Some of you may be, again, absolutely some of you may be, but most Tau players that I know are there because their models look cool and their rules are pretty good. That's what they're there for, right? Alright, moving on. Tyranids. Firstly, you're a woman and you're probably pretty hot. I say this every time. It's Necrons and Tyranids. Those are the two, right? They're always playing them. You walk into a hobby store, any hottie you see, Tyranids or Necrons. That's what she's playing. Moving on from that, though, which of these categories do you fall into? Do you know what? In a weird way, I'm going to put Tournament Bros at the bottom of the list here, okay? I just don't think people take Tyranids tournaments to win tournaments. I just think they take them there to devour things and to have fun. I've never known a Tyranid player to be absolutely besotted with the rules and getting things right and being an absolute, blood, sweat and tears player of 40k. Instead, I've known most Tyranid players, most of them. I've known one who was a very tournament bro, and were very, very difficult and anti-fun to play against sometimes. But the other two, the Storytellers and Chasers, make up the vast amount of the Tyranid player base for me. Chasers, again, you think your Carnifex is cool, you think your Turvigon's cool, you think these monsters are really cool, and you like the film Alien. Dude, you're a Chaser, you're here, you're loving it, you're loving Tyranids, good on you. Lore people love the fact that how the hive mind works. They love the fact that they're devouring every other species in the galaxy. And that in the end, even if the Tyranids lose, they pretty much win anyway, right? That's cool, right? And you're a storyteller for that. So I would say it is 60% Chasers, 40% Storytellers for Tyranids. Alright, cool. I think that is Xenos done and dusted for now. So let's go on to Chaos. Alrighty. Alrighty. So, Chaos Demons. They're up first. Chaos Demons. Okie doke. What are you if you are a Chaos Demon player? I'd probably say you are... this is the first one where I really want to give everybody equal share. Like 33, 33, 33 across the board. I think I might do that. Because I know Chasers who will be into Demons, because look at them. Like there are a lot of people who will find these extremely cool and will play them for that reason, because they want to paint these really disgusting or really intimidating models, right? That's one thing. Storytellers, Demons are in every form of Warhammer ever, from Age of Sigmar all the way through to 40k and everywhere in between, right? So, and they're always involved with some of the main antagonists. Some of their story arcs are really cool. Bailacor is the best model Games Workshop have ever produced. Just saying. So yeah, like I can definitely see that why you would be into Demons if you were a storyteller. And also, Tournament Bros. Demons can actually be very powerful on the tabletop if you play them correctly. Absolutely. So, I think they also are dudes who are, shall we say, very much into tournaments and very much loved by the tournament scene. So this is going to be the first section of armies that are 33, 33, 33 across the board. I can't place you. That's really a look to the versatility of the Demons, right? They can be whatever you want. They can fit into any of these categories, which is why they got 33 across the board, right? This isn't me crapping out of a decision. This is literally how they are, how they operate. This is what they're like. And again, Bailacor, best model ever, and that's just not up for debate. Moving on. Chaos Knights. I'm going to go with Chasers and Tournament Bros more than anything else. Yes, they do have some lore, but for what Imperial Knights are, they have shockingly little lore for that. They are literally knights in space who use mechs. It is inexcusable how little lore the Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights have. In fact, I'm going to throw Chaos Knight and Imperial Knight into the same place, right? I would say most of them are Tournament Bros, and a few of the others are Chasers. I'm going to go 60-40. Tournament Bros, 60%. Chasers, 40%. That is because, number one, a lot of people who unless you're an experienced hand at 40k, coming up against 2 or 3 Imperial Knights is really intimidating, and you're probably going to lose, right? And let's be honest, I know a lot of you will go, huh, I wouldn't, huh. Well, yeah, maybe you wouldn't, dude, but like, the vast majority of players out there, if they've got like 3 Armigers and 3 Imperial Knights on the tabletop, they're going to find that a pretty tough nut to crack, right, as a beginner. Most of the Imperial Knight players who are, you know, absolutely all in on Imperial Knights tend to be ones who like to win games and like to stomp things into paste, and they will stick to the rules verbatim too, right? They are very, very good tournament players, which is why I'm giving them 60% of this. And Chasers, I mean, look at them, dude. They're big mechs. Of course you're a Chaser. Of course you're playing them because rule of cool. They look fucking awesome, right? Moving on. I don't think I need to expand on that at all. And it also lets us skip Imperial Knights later because they're the same thing in terms of what we're looking at today. Chaos Space Marines. Okie dokie. Controversial one. I'm going to throw out Tournament Bros. I don't think Chaos Space Marines have been very good for quite a while now. Again, you can win tournaments with them. They do win tournaments. But in terms of actually being really powerful on the tabletop, not so much, right? They're not one of the big hitters in 40k, or at least they haven't been throughout 40k's entire life cycle anyway. I think these dudes are about 80% storytellers and 20% chasers. Yes, chasers think, Chaos Space Marines are cool, but you're here for the tragedy. You're here for the story. You're here because you were the Legions, damn it. You were the first. You were here. You built the Imperium. Now you're back to burn it down, as is your right to do, as the guys who built it in the first place. You love your lore, and you've probably read every Horus Heresy book that is going. You, my friend, are most likely a storyteller if you collect Chaos Space Marines. That's all I've got to say on that. That's literally all I got to say on that. Now again, each of these other three, I'm going to put Emperor's Children in here as well. I'm going to put them in the Chaos Space Marines too. I think the Death Guard, Thousand Suns, World Eaters, would they change at all? Yeah, they would actually. They would. So I'm going to go with Death Guard first. I think that they do deserve their own parts in this. Emperor's Children are almost exactly the same as Chaos Space Marines in terms of their scoring, whereas these dudes, I'm thinking they're a little bit different. Okay, I think there are a lot of tournament bros who are into Death Guard for their sheer tankiness. I've come up against them a fair few times in my past. A lot of people in 8th edition came up with Death Guard armies for obvious reasons. They were a part of the Dark Imperium box set, and they were extremely powerful at the time. Mortarion 2 hit like a truck. They were winning tournaments at the time, so that they have been a very meta faction in the past, and they're still quite good, right? If you play them correctly. So I would say a good 40% of them are tournament bros. Storytellers, I would give 30% are tournament bros, 30%, right? Then we have 30% are storytellers. 30% really love the tragic story of the Death Guard and getting into them and just sending their dudes forwards and seeing how much fire they can take before they go down. Definitely. And the other 40% are chasers because they think the look of the Death Guard is so disgustingly cool that they can't not play them. Alright? That is your Death Guard. I'm going to have to go through these pretty quickly because these are all Chaos Space Marines at the end of the day. Thousand Suns. Alright. So, Thousand Suns. Let me have a little look here. I think storytellers are a big part of Thousand Suns. I'm going to discount Tournament Bros almost entirely because Thousand Suns, by and large, are decent, but they are very, very expensive in terms of points costs. So they're never going to be at the higher end of tournament wins and getting you loads of wins even in casual games most of the time. No, you are here for the story. You are here for Magnus's tragic story. You are here for the All Is Dust story. You probably loved the Black Legion books with Iskandar Khayan and that kind of thing. And you are also chasers because look at the Thousand Suns, dude. How can you not be chasers? How can you not be collecting this army because of the rule of cool? I'm going 50% chasers, 50% storytellers, and that is the Thousand Suns. And of course, World Eaters. Now, this is a 10th edition addition to 40k in terms of new models, new rules and things, so forgive me if I get this wrong, but I'm not going with Tournament Bros because whilst they are a very good army for what they do, I would imagine it would be very easy to counteract an army that charges at you across the tabletop on foot, so I'm not going to go with Tournament Bros, but I will go with, again, storytellers and chasers, but I'm going to put chasers as around 70% to the 30% of storytellers, so a little bit different to the Thousand Suns. Why? Well, I'll be honest with you, the best looking demons, in my opinion, are Khorne demons. Look at this demon print. Like, come on, dude. Come on now. And you can build them in separate ways as well. Absolutely amazing looking Khorne demon prints, right? You know, I just love this to bits. Absolutely love it to bits. You know, obviously the big man himself, Angron, Demon Primarch. You know, the guy with muscle wings, because of course he is. Again, of course you're getting these for the aesthetic. They look absolutely fantastic and awesome. And yeah, good luck to you if you like them. I totally get why you do. Okay, that is Chaos done. Let's go on to Space Marines. Okay, we're going to be here for a while. I'm gonna have to fold some of these in because I'm not going to be here for 3 hours, man. I don't have that much time today. Let's see. Let's go with Space Marines as a whole first. The Space Marines as a whole, right? And then I'll go into certain factions. So I'm gonna explain what Space Marines do and which one they are, in terms of, you know, what kind of one they fall into, and then I'll cherry pick out ones which deviate from the norm vastly. So Space Wolves will be getting their own part, Grey Knights will be getting their own part, that kind of thing, right? All right. So normal Space Marine. So if you have a Space Marine army, which one of these do you go into? Okay. I'm going to discount Tournament Bros again. Mainly because Space Marines have always been the beginner army. They've always been... Do you know what I equate it to? Did any of you ever play Tekken back in the day? Right? So Tekken had a character called Paul Phoenix. And Paul Phoenix was known as the beginner character. He hit quite hard, he was quite durable, you could make mistakes with him, but he was beatable, right? You know, he could do everything pretty well, but he was beatable. More than beatable, really, right? That is Space Marines to a T, right? They hit quite hard, they're quite durable, you can make mistakes with them, but they're beatable. Their power level isn't such that they just destroy everything on the tabletop, right? Which is why I don't think meta chasers, guys who want to win at all costs, guys who love tournaments, right, will play Space Marines for the most part, although they are always at the top of the leaderboard. You know why? Because Space Marines are so fucking popular. But they're not there because they're the best armies in the game, they're there because they're so popular. That's why they're there. Law of averages. If you have more Space Marine armies in a tournament, you're going to get more Space Marine wins. It is what it is, right? That's how the dice roll out. But in terms of what army you would go to enjoy the game in a way that Tournament Bros do, I wouldn't suggest Space Marines, right? I would say they are 80% storytellers and 20% chasers. Okay? Space Marines rely on their lore to a vast amount. They have an entire Horus Heresy series dedicated to their origins, for God's sake, right? And then we have, you know, a copious amount of books, video games, movies, not movies, but you know what I mean, like online videos, things like that, dedicated to these dudes, dedicated Space Marines doing what they do best. The sheer amount of books that cover Space Marines, the mind boggles. It absolutely does. They are the poster boys, and so if you're into 40k lore, you are into Space Marines. That is just how it is, right? Or at some point, even if you tell yourself you're not now, at some point you were into Space Marines. If you like 40k lore, that's just how it is, dude. That is just how it is. And okay, 20% chasers, simply because, you know, the models are pretty cool. They're Marines in space in power armor. What's not to like, right? That's where we are with this, okay? So that is what I think you are if you are a Space Marine player. You are 80% lore, 20% rule of cool. And I would count myself in that number. That is what I think I am too. I think I'm 80% lore, background stuff, 20% rule of cool. Like, I really like cool things. That's generally where I think I am too. So, anyway. Moving on, let's pick some people out. Who really shifts from the Space Marine paradigm? Well, we'll do some Space Wolves, definitely. Now, just because your chapter culture is weird doesn't mean you're weird. You know, we'll do Black Templars. We'll do Grey Knights. We're folding Imperial Fists and Ultramarines into Space Marines. I'm going to do Dark Angels. I'm going to do Death Watch. Folding Salamanders into Space Marines as well. Folding White Scars in. There's not enough to them, White Scars. Going to fold them in as well. And we're going to fold in Raven Guards. These are the ones we're going with. Because I don't have a lot of time. I've got some time, but not loads. The Space Wolves first. Okay, which of these three are you? Again, I'm going to lower down Tournament Bros. Because by and large, I think with all of these, Tournament Bros can kind of go down. apart from Grey Knights, because they have a specific thing that they're really good at. But Tournament Bros, I'm going to lower that down quite a bit, because, again, Space Wolves aren't the most powerful faction in the game. In fact, they were one of the least powerful factions in the game, as far as I remember. So you're here for the lore, and you're here. I'm going to invert the Space Marine rule here. I think you're here for 20% lore. You're here for 20%, you know. I'm just here for fun. I'm just here to smash my models together on the tabletop and blow things up. I love the lore of my faction. I love what they do. You know, I love the aesthetic. That's what I do. You're a storyteller, right? 20%. But 80% chasers. The sheer amount of dudes that I know who collect Space Wolves, and when I ask them why they collect them, because they're cringe as fuck, they tell me, dude, I don't know, man. I just think they look cool as shit. That is what they tell me. Like, verbatim, most of the time. I just think they're cool as shit. You, my friend, are a chaser. And well done to you for being one, too, because you're in the best hobby in the world. Congratulations. Black Templars. This is a very strange Space Marine army, because I'm going to give this 10% storytellers, because whilst they do have lore, it's mainly about what the chapter does, apart from big events. If you don't take Grimaldus in there, you know what I mean? It's about what the Emperor's Champion does. It's about how the chapter fights as a whole, rather than specific stories about the specific Marines in war zones and things. So I'm going to say 10% storytellers. It is there, and you think it's really cool, but you're not really there to smash models together. You're there to kill for the Emperor, right? That's why I'm going to give them another 20% for Tournament Bros. Do you know why? Because whilst they're not amazing on the tabletop, because most Space Marines are a jack-of-all-trades army that you can fit to basically a Swiss Army knife into whatever you want, but people who go to tournaments with Black Templars aren't there to win. They're there to eradicate. They're there to be like, all of you are filthy, you don't deserve to be on the same table as me, and I'm going to play my balls off to make sure that I do not let the Emperor down. That is how these people think. Verbatim. That is how these people think. Right? And my hat comes off to you, sir. That's why they have 20% Tournament Bros in here, as well as 10% Storytellers. The rest of it is Chasers, because of cool it is. Of course it is. Look how cool they are. Look at how cool they are. Of course it is. Absolutely amazing looking faction. Of course you're playing them for Rule of Cool. Moving on. Grey Knights, right. My boys, my beautiful boys. Here we are. The time has come. I'm going to say this is a 30% Tournament Bros army. Grey Knights, whilst not being the most powerful, and they definitely are very expensive in terms of points, they are also very good at what they do. And that is playing like power armored Eldar. That's basically what the Grey Knights are right now. They zap around, they teleport around the tabletop, they lay down copious amounts of firepower and psychic powers before finishing you off with a coup de grace charge. That is what the Grey Knights do, and they're very good at it. And they have won quite a few tournaments doing so. They are on the upper end of the power end of 10th edition right now. Not at the top, but definitely in the top 5 or 6. So, yeah, Tournament Bros get a lot of joy out of these dudes. So we've got 30% there. We're going to go with... We've got 70 left. I'm going to give 40% for Chasers and 30% for Storytellers. Storytellers, there is Grey Knight lore out there. That's pretty cool. But also, a lot of their novels aren't really about them, which sucks completely. You know, I think the one that I read was The Emperor's Gift, and it was like mostly about Space Wolves. Like, what the fuck, you know? So yeah, you're in there for the lore. Sure, you are. They have cool lore, but mainly you're here because they are Silver Knight in space who kill demons. You've seen the artwork. You know who these guys are. You know who we are. You know who Grey Knight players are, right? We've seen a few pieces of artwork and gone, that's the one for us, thank you very much. And that is where we are. And we like Grey Knights. That is who we play. That is who we are. Moving on to Dark Angels. Okay. Very similar to Grey Knights here. I think Dark Angels are... I'm going to give 10% to Tournament... No, actually, no. No Tournament Bros. Dark Angels suck. Dark Angels are terrible. As far as I've been aware, in 10th edition, they're not very good. So I'm going to put them near the bottom. They don't have any tournament bros there, because why would you? Unless you're looking for a hard time. So Storytellers. By the way, you can win games of 40k with Dark Angels, right? 40k and competitive 40k are two completely different games. You know, I've seen Dark Angels beast people on the tabletop, right? Because they're played to their strengths against somebody who is not playing to their strengths or just rolling badly or playing badly, right? But at tournaments, Blood Angels tend to get ripped a new one. I don't know why. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I've just seen that they don't do very well. But in terms of Storytellers, yes, you are here for the background. You are a good 40% of you are here to get into the story, the lore, and you're here for the fun of it, right? You're here for the fun of it, like all Storytellers are. And you're the 60% of you are chasers. You are people who are here because these are actual knights in space rather than silver knights in space who kill demons. No, these are actual knights in space, and you love it. You are very... you may be loyal to the Lion, but you are here mainly because you like King Arthur, you like Knights of the Round Table, and when you put one of those in power armor, you get all moist and tingly down below. Who's next? Death Watch. Okay, Mill Sim simulators. You know, if you play those types of games, you're probably into Death Watch. But also, in terms of their playability, I'm going to put another 0 in terms of Tournament Bros. And I'm going to put a 0 in Storytellers. Okay? This is a 100% Space Marine Chaser army. You are here for the aesthetic, you are here for the coolness of putting things together that look different as a Space Marine army. Even your air support looks weird, the Corvus Blackstar, right? You have your Kill Team Cassius, your veterans, they all have odd armaments. They are literally a jack-of-all-trades army that can make of them what you want. You can convert them until the cows come home, and that's why you like them. You even have Terminators in normal squads, for God's sake. I mean, what more do you want? So you are a 100% feels army for me. They're never going to forgive me, so I'll do Blood Angels as well, because they'll never forgive me otherwise. Another one of what I call the big three, right? Ultramarines, Blood Angels, and Imperial Fists, the big three. Not doing Imperial Fists because they're so like normal Marines that there's no point, you know. But they're still cool. They are cool. So, in terms of Blood Angels, I'm going to say 10% Tournament Bros. They can be played and they can do quite well at tournaments. I'm going to say 80% Storytellers. I'm going to say 10% Chasers. Okay, because they are cool models, can't deny that, right? And their sculpts are pretty cool. But if you know anything about Sanguinius' story, if you know anything about the Blood Angels and their flaws, you are here for the tragedy of the Blood Angels. You are here to get them on the tabletop and to drink blood and to go at the enemies of the Emperor. Every single Blood Angels player I've come across is of this ilk. They care about winning, sure, but it's not what they're there for. They're there to spill blood in the Emperor's name, especially if they collect flesh tearers. Ugh, right? Well, that's where we are with the Blood Angels. Alright, moving on, because we're getting on for time now, to our final section, and that is the Imperium. So people who are on the Imperium who aren't Space Marines. We're discounting Imperial Knights, we've already done them with the Chaos Knights. And Imperial Agents discounting... No, we're gonna do them as well, even though they're not really an army. So, Adeptus Sororitas. Alright. The Nuns with guns. Probably going to discount Tournament Bros again. Again, we've had our Tournament Bro armies for the most part. We're going to discount them again for the most part. Although we've got one or two coming up that definitely are Tournament Bro armies. In terms of Storytellers, they haven't got a lot of lore. There's some lore to them. I'm going to say 5% Tournament Bros, 10% Storytellers, and 75% Chasers. That's what I think. No, 80% Chasers. Sorry, yeah, I got my maths wrong. 80% Chasers. You are here for the look of your army. Let's be honest. The look and feel of your army is why you're here. You're not here to strictly win games, maybe not, but you still want to win them. I wouldn't say you're a person who turns up to games and doesn't care about winning. I would say, by and large, the people who like these types of really bespoke looking armies are here for the look and feel of the faction, rather than what they do on the tabletop. And that is all power to you, man. I'm definitely there with you. They're a cool looking army, and that is why most of you will be chasers rather than anything else. We have the Adeptus Custodes. Alright, this is an army that the first Space Marine-ish army, sorry Adeptus Custodes for piling you in with the rest of the Space Marines, don't shoot me. But this is the first Space Marine-like army, right, that is a good 70% tournament bros. I've seen these armies bought and sold so many times in my local area for people wanting to play them in tournaments, especially near the start of 10th edition. Are they still that powerful? No. But are they still good in tournaments? Yes. Right? I see these win a lot of games in my local store, and the people who play them like them for the way that they play. They're very hard hitting, they're very hard to kill, and they're very good at holding down objectives. They're just good at... This army is good at playing 40k. Just is what it is, right? So I'd say a good 70% is over there, and I'd probably do a good 15% on storytellers and chasers. You like the lore of the 10,000, you like what they were back in the day, at least until there was female custodies in there for the most of you, and you're a big fan of the lore, and you are chasers simply because of, look at them. They are bespoke, baroque, armor-wearing badasses. That is what they are, right? They are the Emperor's custodians. What else would you like to know of them? They are absolutely awesome. All right. Moving on, Adeptus Mechanicus. Alright, this is a 0 in terms of tournament bros. Bear with me on this. They're okay now, but at the start, no tournament bro was playing this army. They were awful at the start of 10th edition, right? Nowadays, they're punching their weight, I would say. But it's still been a big turn off for most tournament bros who don't tend to play as them. So I'm going to give that a big fat 0 because of, for that reason, right? They're not really that well played at tournaments because the stink still lingers. Even though they're not a bad, they're not a bad faction at all these days, the stink of their earlier incarnation in this edition of Warhammer 40,000 still lingers around. Storytellers, yeah, maybe. There aren't that many books outside of Legion that deal solely with the Adeptus Mechanicus for how cool they are, which is a shame. So I'm going to give that 10%, and I think 90% of you are chasers, because a lot of the 40k armies deal with feels. A lot of the 40k armies deal with aesthetics and what they look like and what you'll be into because of what they look like. And again, this is one of those. And that is kind of where I see the strength of 40k as a whole, is its aesthetic and how it gets you in, right? And it absolutely pulls you in by doing that. That is one of my favourite things, and that is what I think. That is what I think the Adeptus Mechanicus definitely are. Astra Militarum. Okay. I have seen them being played at tournaments. I've seen them doing well at tournaments, so we'll give that 30% straight away. They have a lot of books dedicated to them, Gaunts, Ghosts, things like that. So I'm going to give that another 30% too. So we're at 60% all overall. And again, chasers, no. I'm going to redo this. 30% tournament bros, definitely. I'm going to go 50% storytellers, because the amount of books you have. And again, a lot of players who like Imperial Guard tend to turn up to just want to have fun and shoot shit. And Imperial Guard players are the kind of players who will say, fuck it, we ball to the Emperor, and they literally charge their dudes with bayonets at you if they can't kill you. That is the kind of people like Imperial Guard players are. They really get into character. Forwards for the Emperor, right? That kind of stuff. So I would definitely say a good 50% of them are storytellers. We'll say 10% tournament bros, and the other 40% are chasers. Chasers because they like their tanks. They like the feel of First World War, Second World War dudes in a futuristic setting. What more can I say, right? And they are well within their rights to do so, because Imperial Guard kick fucking ass. They just do. They're awesome. Last but not least, Imperial Agents. Oh, we're here, are we? We're here with the, how do I put it? The hipster choice. The hipster choice. This is why they are 100% chasers. And you know what? I'm going to go with 10% storytellers, just because of the Eisenhorn, Ravenor, and Beckwin novels, right? But outside of that, 90% chasers. 90% you're here because your army is cool. And in fact, no, I'm gonna switch those around. I'm gonna switch those around, right? You are 90% here because of lore. Let's be honest. You play this game. You get these models because you read Eisenhorn and thought it was badass, or Ravenor, or one of the Beckwin books. You thought they were badass, right? And that's completely fine. Completely fine by me. You are a 90% lore faction. You are the highest lore faction in this list, by the way, in my opinion. 10% of you here because the models are cool, because they are, but most of you are here because you read books and you thought they were pretty cool. I have yet to see Imperial Agents being played at a tournament once, so they get no points there. But those are your 40k factions, and depending on what kind of a player you are, where I think you should be, and where I think you should be shopping for your army, right? That's the kind of thing that you should be doing. What do you guys think? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you score yourself? Let me know in the comment section down below how you scored yourself, and whether your army prediction, what I predicted you'd be into, was accurate. Alright? I love you a long time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll speak to you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. See you later. Have a good one. Bye now.